Sean Payton and George Paton talked at the Combine for 45 minutes, and we're going to give you everything you need to know, the biggest takeaways. And before we dive in, make sure to hit us with a thumbs up. Subscribe to this channel for all of your Broncos and Colorado sports news for all year long. And let's dive in with the biggest takeaway, and it starts with the announcement that Sean Payton made. He is giving up play calling duties to Davis Webb. He made it official today after a couple of hours before Sean talked to the media. Brandon Beane and Joe Brady, the Bills staff, actually leaked that this was going to happen in a roundabout way, but then Sean got to it, and we heard it straight from his mouth. And the biggest reason why is Sean Payton giving up play calling duties to Davis Webb? Because of Davis. Those were Sean's words directly when asked about it. He said Davis has a, quote, gift, and he has all of the confidence in the world in Davis calling plays. In fact, Sean knew he was going to do this midway through last season. He had conversations and meetings with Davis where they sat down and talked about how this was going to happen because Sean just views Davis as that special. And I thought George Paton made a very good point when we talked to him about this. George said, look, you have one of the best play callers of all time. Giving up play calling duties to someone else, what does that tell you about how he feels about Davis Webb? It means the world. He thinks the world of Davis Webb. He said, quote, it's only if you feel like there's someone good enough to do that. That was Sean talking about Davis, and he has all the confidence in the world in Davis Webb calling plays. And this isn't the first time that Sean Payton has given up play calling duties. The first time he actually got hurt, so wasn't able to be on the sidelines and had to give it up in the first game where Pete Carmichael called plays. They dropped 63 points, and Sean joked, what are you doing to me? You're making me look bad. He's hoping that Davis Webb makes him look bad in kind of a weird way so that he is able to help the team, and that's what he said. Because of Davis, they're giving up plays, and then the other thing is because he said it's beneficial for the team, and he's willing to do that since he believes it will help the team. Sean did make it clear, though, he's still going to be calling some of the plays, and he's going to have a lot of input in this play calling, and then he joked, my plays will be the bad ones. His will be all the good ones. So we'll see this evolve over the course of the season, but Davis Webb is officially the Denver Broncos play caller. And don't worry, Sean's still going to have input and be calling some plays as well. Before we move on to the second takeaway, hit us with a thumbs up, subscribe to this channel, turn on alerts. We appreciate that. The second takeaway here is Sean Payton was asked about the comments that he had towards Bo at the end of the season, and then Bo's reaction to that kind of calling Sean Payton out. And so he was asked, was there a miscommunication there? And Sean said, yes, there was a miscommunication, but it wasn't with me. And he pointed directly to a reporter, Mike Kliss, who actually asked Bo Nix the question, or Sean Payton the question after the season that got things kind of going and stirred the pot. And he said the miscommunication was with his question because he doesn't like when people misquote him in questions. So Sean made it clear that there's not a miscommunication between him and Bo. It was with a reporter and him and Bo. So he wanted to move past that, said there was nothing going on between him and Bo. The next thing that we learned, positions of need for the Broncos. Sean Payton and George Paton kind of identified a couple of positions of need here, and it was linebacker, running back, and tight end. And a very important thing here, which they made sure to clarify, is that this is with the Broncos' current impending free agents. So this is including the linebacker room without Alex Singleton, without Justin Strnad, the running back room without J.K. Dobbins, because these are all free agents that will hit the market if the Broncos do not re-sign them before March 9th when free agency opens. So that's how they're viewing it, as guys that aren't under contract for next year, but the Broncos will address their own free agents first, and Sean Payton made that very clear. So there is a chance that by the time free agency comes around, linebacker is not a need anymore because they've re-signed Alex Singleton, they've re-signed Justin Strnad, and same with running back, same with these positions. So we'll see what they do in the next 2 weeks to see, but those positions are musts. And in fact, there's some specifics with those positions. George said that the Broncos want Alex Singleton and Justin Strnad back. Sean said that he's looking for running backs and tight ends with Joker qualities all the time. We heard the Joker a lot last year, and then of course the Broncos got Evan Ingram, and he had an okay season. Caught 50 passes, but could get more out of that position there. And then George was talking about R.J. Harvey, and man, he could not have spoke highly enough about R.J. Harvey. He said, He still can be a third down back, and he couldn't be more happy with RJ Harvey in the season that he's had. When it comes to the receiver position, he said we've seen good growth at receiver with the guys that we drafted a couple of years ago and the development of Pat Bryant, Troy Franklin, and Marvin Mims. And in fact, when talking about Marvin Mims, they said that at times, the only thing that's holding Marvin back is that rotation because there's so many guys rotating in and out, and we've seen Marvin have big flashes. This past playoffs, in the 2 playoff games, he had 12 catches for nearly 150 yards. But then he'll go other games where I think he ended the season with 20 yards in the final 2 games of this season. So just inconsistency, but according to George and Sean, that's not Marvin himself. That's actually just the rotation and him not being able to be on the field. A couple more things about positions of need. George Paton said that he's always going to add to the offensive and defensive lines, even if they're already very good. So that might be a hint for what the Broncos might do this offseason, whether it's in the draft or free agency, still go after some offensive linemen and defensive linemen, even though both of those positions are very much positions of strength for the Broncos right now. Let's move on to the next takeaway, and how about this? George Paton's giving out extensions left and right. What about an extension coming his way for him? He is entering the final year of his contract, and typically successful head coaches and GMs do not go and play or coach or be an executive on the final year of their deal. They're either fired, which George Paton's not getting fired, or they get an extension. And so that extension could happen this offseason. And in fact, Sean Payton has already advocated to the Walton Penner ownership group for George to get an extension. He said, quote, should be something that gets handled quickly. And then George said he's not worried about it. When it happens, it's going to happen. So George Paton's been dishing out hundreds of millions of dollars in extensions the past year. He's going to get one. Maybe not worth hundreds of millions, but he's going to get a big contract extension to keep him and Sean here for the long haul. And before I get this final takeaway, make sure to hit us with a thumbs up. Subscribe to this channel where we are live in Indianapolis. We're going to be at the owners' meetings in a month. We're going to be on scene at the draft. We've got your best comprehensive Broncos coverage on this channel. And the final takeaway, a fan favorite, Ja'Quan McMillian is going to be a Bronco. It appears he's a restricted free agent right now, but the Broncos want him back. According to George Paton, all the Broncos have to do is put a tender on him. They could do a first-round tender, second-round tender, or original round tender, and those prices, if they put a first round tender, that means a team would have to give up a first round pick in order to take him away from the Broncos, and that comes with a higher price tag than if you do a second round tender or an original round tender. And of course, he's an undrafted free agent, so that original round tender, the team wouldn't have to give anything up for him if they wanted to sign him away from the Broncos. But George did say we might get teams that call us about Ja'Quan, and what makes that fascinating is, of course, the Broncos have Ja'Quan Barron waiting in the wings for Ja'Quan potentially. George Paton also said that Ja'Quan can play outside as well, and so it's going to be interesting to see how they handle that. George Paton said it's a great problem to have with him and Ja'Quan right there, trying to get both of those guys enough snaps. So I would expect the RFA tender to be put on Ja'Quan to keep him with the Broncos, and we'll see if teams call. That's going to do it from Indy. Hit us with a thumbs up, subscribe. We appreciate you, and stay tuned for all of your Broncos coverage.